What's up, y'all? One Piece One Life here, and guys, the hat is on, which means you already know what time it is. Chapter review time. Yeah, it wasn't really a plan or nothing, but I guess from this point forward, I'm just gonna be wearing the hat in chapter reviews. And this is really an amazing chapter to review in my opinion. The latter half is alright, but the first half? We get some interesting lore about perhaps the most mysterious character in One Piece at this point that's not Emu. One might even say, this man's the lurking legend. So if you're excited for the 11:45 review, I need y'all to do something for me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this every week, and share it around with all your friends who love this series. You know what we say here, let's get it going. And make sure you subscribe to me and my boys over at CSY. We're still heading towards mission 5K, very special drop at 5K. Now the chapter is titled, and I'm gonna need to read this because it's very long, The Blaze in Branch 8's Forest Number 2. Wow, that's a mouthful. Pause. But of course, we start off with Yamato's cover story, and for some reason, we just see that Ulti is happy that Page One's okay, which, I mean, I think we could have inferred by the fact that Yamato saved them. I don't know about y'all, I'm just getting tired of Yamato's cover story personally. Now, the chapter actually starts off with an interesting group, because we see that Zoro, Sanji, and Goldberg have been sent off as a mini group to go and procure food for the group that's in the underworld. And I kind of like this group, you know? I mean, a hunter and two cooks going together to find food is great. Plus, of course, Zoro and Sanji together again. Ooh, what a great dynamic. So they're fighting off against this giant Brachiosaurus. And I wonder if this is bringing up anything for Sanji since he just literally had to fight Queen and Wano. So you have Goldberg talking to his shield and saying, "Here it comes, Nash." Now remember, even when we saw Goldberg's introduction in the cover story where we saw all the new giant warrior pirates, everyone was always curious as to why Goldberg's shield had a face on it. And I mean, we get into it a bit later, but I guess I'll talk about it now. Goldberg's shield is a homie. Apparently the shield used to belong to Goldberg's dad, and at some point Goldberg's dad clashed with Big Mom. And for some reason, part of Big Mom's soul powers infused into the shield. That's just interesting for lore ties, but also you gotta think Big Mom is still being name dropped. So I'm sorry, I just can't help but think that she has to have some sort of role to play in Elbaf still. So as the dinosaur rears back to attack, Nash is able to swell up the same way that other homies are able to, and he becomes essentially a giant shield that blocks the dinosaur's attack. Then as it reels back, Zoro and Sanji perform a combo attack, with Sanji using Arme de l'air power shot, his common support move where somebody balances on his leg and then he flings them towards wherever they're trying to go. So he flings Zoro, and Zoro uses what looks to be onigiri, but he doesn't really say it. Slices the dinosaur's neck clean off. So then they're just talking about it, and this is where we learn that this is a Groggysaurus. Drakeberg even shows us why he's the chef, and he knows what he's talking about because he tells them about how the inner layers of the dinosaur has like this thick fat, but if you really simmer it, it can actually be really good. And I'm not gonna lie, I kinda wanna taste it now. And then we continue on, and this is when Zoro and Sanji are inquiring about Nash, and Drakeberg tells us, yeah, my dad clashed with Big Mom and Nash came to life. So then Sanji's like, oh, so it's kinda like Zeus. And Nash is like, wait, you know Zeus? He's like big dog. And Sanji's just like, yeah, well, your big dog is now the dog of our navigator. Then the scene transitions, and we're back with Luffy's group, who stayed with Loki to keep healing them up. And this is when Loki tells their group that the people who did this to him are the God's Knights of the world government. Hiruden's just like, all of that rampaging you did overseas, you must have got some enemies. But Loki's like, I never encountered guys like that. If I did, I would have beaten them and be king of the world by now. Now keep that king of the world sentence in mind. It's very important. So as Luffy's just like, world government knights. That's when Sanji's group comes back. Zoro's just like, you know, I, of course, am the one who took this giant beast down. But Sanji's just like, oh yeah, it was great. You looked like some flying broccoli. Zoro and Sanji bickering. To me, never gets old. Then we have Stanton collecting firewood, so basically it looks like they're gonna be camping out here for a while. But now we get into some Luffy-Loki shenanigans because what am I seeing? Luffy tries to take the first bite, and they're like, no, the first helping has to go to Loki. Luffy's just like, okay, and slams the meat in his face. Whoa, big pause. Keep in mind, Loki is still stretched out like that. He can't even move. Yo, there's too many pauses in this already. It's a problem. But Loki in comic anger is just like, are you trying to kill me? And Luffy's just like, haha, look at that. You're better already. But because he's lying down, as he's eating, he starts to choke. So Luffy's like, don't worry, I got it. We got boiling water. Why Luffy grabbed boiling water as opposed to regular water, I'm not really sure. But then he badly burns Loki, and Loki's just like, please, get this maniac away from me. I don't want him near me no more. Gerd is just like, come on, Luffy. All these burns that you're giving him. And Luffy starts to be like, my bad, I didn't mean to. But then Gerd is just like, Good job. He's a bad person. That little stint of comedy aside, Sanji and Zoro are just talking, and Sanji's like, I wonder what he did to piss them off that badly. Which reminds me of that Boondocks meme. Y'all know it? Damn. What did he do to make them that mad? While Zoro is just like, yeah, I bet that his promise to Luffy is just a trick. Also, I have one question. Zoro, why are you eating the meat off of your sword? I think this may be the most pauses I've ever had to give myself in one video because... Pause. But Loki is like, oh, you mean Red Hair's whereabouts? I actually wasn't lying about that. I do know where he is, but you haven't let me go yet, so still not a deal, really. And then Loki's just like, huh, Luffy, I bet you want to see him real bad, huh? I guess that's what happens when you idolize a crazy strong pirate. Cause then we see a flashback and Loki's like, take me with you. And then we get a man cloaked in silhouette talking about some, I didn't come all this way just to be able to take a brat like you. So then Loki's like, oh yeah? Well then I challenge you. And the guy's just like, oh? And in the next scene that we see in this flashback, Loki is battered on the ground and this man really pulled a blade on a child. And you know who admonishes this man for that? Whitebeard. Because you can see his mustache. And we have Whitebeard saying, really? Did you really have to do all this for a child? And the man is like, shut it, Newgate. Y'all. Loki idolized rocks. Wait. More than that. We got rocks talking. And we have rocks on Elbaf. I just can't believe that we're finally getting more about rocks and the fact that it's tied to Loki's story of everything. And now we're also using that to tie in the Loki-Luffy parallels. I am so excited. And then as we cut away from this group, you just have Loki saying, I was born in the wrong era. If I was born before, I could have gone along with the Rocks pirates. So what is it about rocks that brought him to Elbaf 1 and that attracted somebody like Loki to be idolizing him too? And then again, I think that this is also going to tie into Rox' story as we realize that Rox isn't the huge evil maniac that everyone poses him to be. I think he was definitely ambitious and crazy, but I think that, you know, there's a reason that somebody like Whitebeard ended up following him. But nah, just seeing this was too hype. And the fact that about a year from now, maybe a little bit more, we're gonna get Rox speaking in the anime, oh my god. So then we move on to the second half of the chapter, which is kind of the boring part. So back in West Village, the giant warrior pirates are basically just taking care of all of the manifestations of dreams. And then you also have Gaban taking care of them pretty easily, just one-shotting, which is just supposed to show us that, yeah, if you're strong enough, you can still one-shot these with relative ease. But then in this section, we also get Gaban having crazy observation hockey. Because he's like, just as I thought. There are 3 more of them. The craziest part about this is it ties into the Sanji and Gaban parallels even more, because Sanji's speciality within the monster trio of what hockey he specializes in is observation, and it really looks like Gaban is the same. And then before we cut away from them, Gaban says if Elbaf is no longer safe, then the world really is coming to an end. And I think this may have something to do with the fact that Elbaf is literally known as the world's strongest nation, and it's a stronghold, which may tie into the fact that Elbaf was one of the islands, or the primary island, where ancient wars were happening. I don't know. And then we cut to Branch 8 Forest 2, apparently. Essentially, this is where the giant fire is, where all the kids who are walking towards the fire is that. So the fire brigade is there and they're trying to put out the fire, but it's not enough. It looks like the kids are going to be burnt up. Saul is like, please put out the fire, y'all. I was able to beat up this big ass wolf, but I can't do anything about this fire. Whole time you just have Gunko and Summers looking down and being like, haha, look at that. Won't they burn to a crisp? Well, it doesn't matter, we can always get more. And then as much as I was thinking about how interesting Gunko's character was in the last chapter, she says some crazy stuff here. Because when Summers is just like, you think that heat will be enough to wake him up? Gunko's just like, oh, of course it will be. They'll wake up screaming in terror and then they'll be burnt to the bone. Wait, that's not okay. But then we have Jinbei stocks going up somehow. You guys know about Jinbei's move, Ocean Current Shoulder Throw, which is basically a move where he grabs the sea and he's able to manipulate it and shoot it out like a water beam. Well, here he uses Sea Cloud Current Shoulder Throw, where he's doing the same thing, but of course, since Elbaf is in sea clouds, he's using that water instead. And we see it literally has the same effect. As he throws it, he literally expunges and clears out the fire completely. Jinbei's just like, whew, hope I made it in time. While everybody's just cheering for him, yes, Jinbei, let's go. And I'm not gonna lie, kind of a feat. I mean, you have to think about it. This fire is massive because they're on a giant island. So to be able to take out the fire instantaneously, it's something. And it's actually so interesting that this is so topical with the video that I just put out a few days ago. In that video, I was talking about how Jinbei can't really be replaced. So for Oda to agree with me and put this in literally the next chapter, I'm not complaining. So then they report, yep, the blaze on branch 8's forest number 2 has been successfully put out. The kids are still walking, but they're at least not in imminent danger. Everybody's cheering, and Robin and Chopper are as well. Robin's just like, oh, Jinbei, he must be around. But I have a question. Robin, you have an ability that literally allows you to stop them in their tracks, which is the entire thing that Saul wanted to do. Why aren't you doing it? That's just my only question. So then as Jinbei gets back on Colin's ship, Colin is just like, wow, Jinbei, you're so cool, and I'm glad that you saved them. Even though they hate me, I really like all my school friends. Nami's just like, don't worry about it, Colin. We're gonna save them all. Gunko has something to say about that, because in the last scene of the chapter, Gunko lands on the ship itself and confronts the Straw Hats directly. She says, oh, not all the children were in school, huh? Seems like you're a lively one. And we finally have it, the first Straw Hats to directly go up against a God's Knight. I'm so excited to see where we go from here. Now, unfortunately, there is a break next week, but you know what? That's just the way it goes. And besides, we're kind of getting back into our usual rhythm of chapters, which is 3 chapters, 3 weeks in a row, and then a break. So, you know, if we keep this up for a while until maybe the summer where he takes another month-long rest, I'm fine with that. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about this chapter? Specifically the first part, because that's where all the crazy stuff is. Do you think that Drake Berg's shield's ties to Big Mom may indicate that she's coming back? But most importantly, what do you think about the rock section? And why the hell was he on Elbaf anyway? Definitely make sure to let me know all that and more in the comments below. Now that is the end of the review, y'all, but before we go, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content just like this, and share it around with all your friends who love the series, or anime and manga in general. Remember, I'm trying to build a community, but I need your help to do it. Well, that's gonna be all for me. I'll catch you on the next one. And always remember, One Piece, one life. Yo, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep doing this with the hat on though. Like, I know I just said that I just started wearing this, which is true, but damn, this is itchy.